Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we're rocking with Playa Props here on a Thursday in the NBA. Got some really juicy matchups coming off a really good night for the kids as well. 6-2 between the best bets and the Playa Props. Quick vent session. AJ Green 2 for 11 from 3. What a read. I mean, talk about right read, wrong beat, right? Like, 11 threes. The man was just building, feeding the homeless with the bricks he was building homes with. But at any rate, we are going to keep moving. We love the plays that we can at least say we had the right read on it. So that was the only loss in the Playa Props. We're going to get even better here because I'm feeling a little bit of a sweep on Thursday, Nate, not to put too much pressure on you. But let's jump right into it.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 from the same spot in a row off an offensive rebound, too, down the stretch. So I was like, all right, like this second one's going down.
I know. My wife came from the other room because I just let out a, "Are you kidding me?" And she came right back and was like, "Everything okay?" No, AJ Green is not okay. But anyway, we move on.
Yeah, right read there. And the Hawks, too, lean towards them winning that game. Trap spot for the Bucks. But yeah, that's tomorrow night's show. Here we go tonight. I'm going to buy low on Brandon Ingram, assuming he's back here. It looks like he's trending towards being in. Props are up. And you can get even money for him to score 20 against this Suns team. A Suns team that I would be scared of in this matchup if Kevin Durant was playing. But I am not scared of this defense. It is 13 points worse per 100 possessions without KD this season. He is their best defender. He's absolutely the best matchup for Brandon Ingram. Like, I don't know who they're going to throw out there at this stage. I guess the rookie Ryan Dunn for the most part, but like in BI, I mean, he's an easy 20 when he's right. And I kind of like that he doesn't have to be the number one option here. He was like carrying way too much weight before he went out with whatever, small injury he was out for a few games with. Now he has CJ McCollum and DJ Murray to set him up and to take some pressure off, but the Pelicans still missing enough guys that his usage should be healthy, right? Obviously no Zion, etc. With CJ since last year, he shoots 5% better from 3. So that's a guy setting you up to get you good looks. He also gets more free throws per game. He's a very big home road splits guy this year, in part because the Pelicans are actually competitive at home. They've just completely punted games when they're on the road, but he's scoring 27 a game at home, 34% usage versus 18 a game on the road. It's only a 2.5 spread this night here. I mean, like I said, with the KD matchup, 17 points on 5 for 11 the last time he faced the Suns with KD. And last time without him, 28 points, 9 for 17. And that was against Mikal Bridges when he was still a lockdown defender. So, I mean, against this weak wing defense that the Suns are going to throw out there, I think you get 20.
Yeah, a weak wing defense and a defense that allows a ton of pull-ups. That is the number one defense in terms of the frequency of pull-up shots being taken against them. So this is a team that is definitely not going to let you get off the three. It's Bud, right? It's Bud. So they're not going to let you get the threes off unless they want you to. And as a result, they're not going to get off of the spot-up shooters that they don't want to leave. So they might leave a few guys here and there, but for the most part, I still think we're going to see a lot of one-on-one stuff going up against BI. It makes me nervous that CJ McCollum, DJ Murray, and BI basically score in the same ways. BI is a little bit closer to the basket, but there's the pull-up stuff that is there for all three of them. We'll see if the assist percentage ever improves for that team. But yeah, either way, I think if BI plays, because by the way, he is questionable again tonight, then this is a good look. If he's out, I think CJ is the better look for the points at about 20.5 in this one. But to your point, BI will be not quite the focal point with those other two guards running the offense a bit more. So let me go to that Denver-Cleveland game and just take the quietest, top role player in the league right now, and Michael Porter Jr., who I don't think is getting the love that he probably deserves. Over 15.5 points for the kid from Mizzou. Shout out Mizzou. Over in 13-16 with Jokic this season, and that includes all of the last 13, right? And this is at 15.5 points. I do think this is going to get bet up to 16.5. I wouldn't be shocked if it ends at 17.5. The dude's averaging 18.6 points per game on the season, and if you put him in the games just with Jokic, then we're talking about him actually upping that to 20.6 points per game on the season. And that's what I'm looking at here is I love when guys like Jokic are out, and then it seems as though we think that when he returns from a brief injury or whatever, that the numbers that guys like Michael Porter Jr. put up are going to go by the wayside. Like, he only improves the guys around him, specifically spot up shooters, which is a great way to score against Cleveland. Also a bad spot up defense, as they are going to pressure the ball, and they are going to run a bit more of that trap high pressure offense that Kenny Atkinson is bringing over from Golden State as well, where he was somewhat of the defensive coordinator for a while after I forget Ron whatever retired. But at any rate, no one cares about the bench staff for the Warriors. The major struggles for MPJ kind of just went by the wayside in the first 3 games. It was just poor shooting. And what's awesome, Nate, that is the reason I feel good about taking this bet, and what would scare me away from it, is if he wasn't scoring in other ways besides the catch and shoot 3. It's not just the catch and shoot 3 for him. He's taken a step inside the mid range. I saw his 3-point prop at 2.5 and was like, that also seems super low, when he, especially if he has a points prop at 15.5. But then when I looked at it, I was like, wow, he's in his last 10 games, he's gone over his points prop without going over his 3 points prop in 6 games. So he's actually scoring from the mid-range. That shot is up a bit more. Clearly, there was a conversation that was like, Michael, if you are within 15 feet, 16 feet, please don't just take a step back dribble to get the 3. Just hit the pull-up. No one can guard you at 6'10" when you rise up and shoot like that. And so the 3.5 points per game off the mid-range doesn't sound great, but it is a big deal for a guy who at least is like taking easier shots than he was getting. And the rebounds are a big part of this as well. And I mean, I'm not necessarily going to rely on those in this game, but he has been a pretty big beast on the boards, even with Aaron Gordon back in the lineup this season. Hasn't really impacted his rebounding. So I do think that's going to be another way that he can get the points more than anything, when you have at least one of Mobley or Allen off the floor, especially when those guys are going to be dealing with Jokic and Aaron Gordon for the whole game, right?
Yeah, Lord knows they need it. I just don't know when Porter's going to show up and when he doesn't. So, yeah, I mean, other leans for me, for sure, in that Spurs-Bulls game, which I know we don't have anybody in there. But, yeah, intriguing just to throw out, like, Sohan is only at, like, 9.5 rebounds assists because he only played 22 minutes in his return. Plus money there, yeah, but not his prop's not out at every book yet. I think you can project maybe 26 minutes, and he's just like a really good rebounder per minute guy in a fast-paced game. So that's just another lean for me. But my second pick is another Brandon Pajemski, your boy. Over 21.5 PRA. Also doesn't have lines out at every book here, so he's kind of in the tweener stage here. Like the points and rebounds more than assists against this Houston team. Because one of the few weak links is Fred VanVleet. And not that he's a bad defender, but he's obviously easier to attack than anybody else on this roster. So they do allow the second most points to point guards right now. And B-Pod, without Steph and without Draymond, is going to be forced to play some pretty heavy minutes. I mean, even in this Steve Kerr ridiculous rotation, which we'll address in a second, 4 games this season without Steph, he's playing 34 minutes a game, getting 14, 6, and 6 on 21% usage. He's a very good rebounder as a guard. You have to rebound as a guard against this Houston Rockets team. So I expect him to mix it up there. I don't know if we'll get the dimes, but I mean, especially with Draymond out, his he was leading the team in these last 3, Draymond, in rebound chances, of course. And then we get 1 game without him. B-Pod only 4 boards on 7 rebound chances. That could just be an outlier. We're talking about 1 game sample. So I think you can expect him, who he had 12 rebound chances in the previous 2, to be higher than that in terms of points, rebounds. And we might also not have Andrew Wiggins in this game, which again just gives you some confidence that Steve Kerr is not going to be able to do this crazy rotation stuff he's done. Not to mention that Steph kind of like very gently was suggested that was like messing with his rhythm, and it's just kind of like a weird thing to be doing at this point in the season, and like maybe we should play our guys more often. So I think we can project 32 to 35 minutes for B-Pods, and he's a very good per 36 minute producer.
Yeah, I think he and Buddy and Kuminga are the 3 guys that I would be targeting without Wiggins. I mean, some combination of the 4 of those guys, if Wiggins is playing as well, are going to dominate. And I do think you're still going to see strength in numbers Warriors, but you're going to basically be replacing Steph at his like 32 minutes with someone like B-Pod. And now that you have Draymond, you're 100%. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. You asked me a little bit earlier what I thought of it. And at first was just like, yeah, I don't know who's going to do what. And then I was like, well, they're now missing their point guard and their pseudo point guard in Draymond. So yeah, the dude who they considered the true backup point guard outside of Chris Paul last season, right? The guy that got all the burn running the offense when both CP3 and Steph weren't available last season. That was B-Pod. And I'm with that one. And like I said, I think Kuminga is going to keep rocking as well. He had a a really good game against them last game, and last season seemed to play them really well also. So I think this is a matchup meant for him. I mean, look, there's like 6 Jonathan Kumingas on the Rockets, right? There's Tari Eason, there's Jabari Smith, there's Amin Thompson. Like, there's a lot of dudes like that on that team. He's going to be needed big time. So I think he's another good look. Another great look, and speaking of being needed, Jarrett Allen is a center who is playing the best center of all time, maybe. And Nikola Jokic may be the best center of all time. So he's going to be needed on the court either way because Jokic will be out there. And that's what we've seen in the last 6 games for Jarrett Allen. So 13.5 points is the prop. Now, this opened at 12.5 incorrectly. I probably helped bet that up to 13.5. Might end at 14.5 right now. What we're seeing on the books is that like the sharp books are actually have this thing juiced way down to the over, even at 13.5 for Jarrett Allen. So clearly some sharp money coming in on those sharp books. And I think the other books will probably catch up. And then we'll get projections that will tell us he's going to score 13 to 14 points. And that'll bring it up as well. So 13.5, anywhere like minus 120 or better is going to be a great look here. The Nuggets are allowing the 8th most points per game to centers. Jokic, not like a negative on defense by any means. It's just that there's a lot of field goal attempts going up against this team from the center position, in part because that's often, a strategy of the opposing team is try to tire out Jokic, who is just doing everything on offense right now. So it does make sense that you would try to at least expend some of his energy on defense. But over his last 6 versus Jokic, 32 minutes per game. And that's what I look at with Jarrett Allen is the games where he's just a little bit less needed. He's going to get to 25, 26. They're going to let the kid, Evan Mobley, run a little bit more at the 5 in those situations as well. But you just can't afford that against Jokic, especially when you need Mobley to match up with Aaron Gordon. It's just as much about needing your strongest 4 to be guarding Aaron Gordon as it is needing Allen out there to deal with Jokic. So those two will be out there a lot. In those 32 minutes in the last 6 games, he's over in all 6. He had 13 in one of them. So, do what you will with that. 17 points per game, though, on 11 shots. And the 11 shots also helps when you filter out Jarrett Allen's games to the point where he's playing 30 plus minutes, taking 11 plus shots. Since last season, he's basically over in like 70% of his games. So you just have to give him the volume and have him with the involvement. Now, the thing that scares me a little bit here is that this is a little bit correlated with a Donovan Mitchell under. And Donovan Mitchell has been getting worked when he's playing against the Nuggets since his last couple games with the Jazz. In fact, the last 6 games he's played against this team, 4 of them were with the Jazz, 2 of them with the Cavs, under in 5 of those 6. But Kenny Caldwell-Pope was guarding him. So that was a little bit of the Donovan gets, is being hounded by Kenny Pope and unable to get a shot off even off his drives. And as a result, has to find Allen for the lob. But at the same time, this Denver team is bad at guarding the pick and roll, man. So if they do get into that, I think Donnie's going to notice that he still has Jarrett Allen open probably more often than he'll have the ability to get that shot off. So this team is very good at limiting the ball handler in the pick and roll, not the roll man. So I think they'll continue to sell out on Donnie Mitchell, leaving Jarrett Allen open for a bunch of these easy putbacks and stuff.
Yeah, and Jarrett Allen, a guy I like taking on longer rest. We talked about fading him on back-to-backs, and this is a good spot in that sense because he played 25 minutes and a 31-point win last time out. And you look at the exact same situation. They blew out the Wizards early in this season. Next game, he gets 15 against the Knicks in a tough matchup. There's also any situation where he gets light minutes the game before, he usually comes back and gets you, 15 plus points and a good double. So that on top of the matchup, he's a guy who really benefits from a little extra rest.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great call as well. So that's all the time we have for you, though, in Play a Props. Continue to follow along, subscribe to that page so you can check out the Best Bets episode up alongside this as well, each and every weekday this entire season. And until we see you next, happy betting.